Sir.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the second session of the second day.
Okay.
Before start the session, just your brief introduction to your work, everything on my students. Just we started. After that, our session starts.
Okay, sir. Shall I start it now, sir?
Just introduction. After your introduction, sir, it will start, sir. Just wait.
Okay.
For 2 minutes.
Okay, sir.
That will be introduced one student.
Good afternoon, participants. I am here to introduce Professor V.S. Velwal, sir, Department of Mechanical Engineering, STM College of Engineering and Technology, Harvard, Karnataka. So, coming to his educational qualifications, he completed BE in Karnataka University, Harvard, in 1991, Mechanical Engineering, and completed his MTech from Visvesvaraya Technological University, Belgaum, in the year 2005, in the area of engineering system. Energy System Engineering, and PhD from VTU Belgaum in the year 2015 in the area of diesel engine applications. So subjects handled by Professor is Turbo Machines, Engineering Economics, Applied Thermodynamics, CAD/CAM Robotics, Thermal Engineering, Power Plant Engineering, and coming to the workshop and seminars, participated successfully AICTE Training and Learning Academy Online PDP on Sustainability Engineering from at Pujya Dodappa College of Engineering, and participated successfully AICTE Training and Learning Academy Online FTP on alternate fuels at Don Bosco Institute of Technology and Engineering. And also 1 week training program at CNC milling machines and programming held at STMCET Harvard, and many more. And reviewer for journalists and achievements, International Journal for Energy Conservation and Management, International Journal of Energy, International Journal of Renewable Energies, International Journal of Science, Journal of Energy Institute, International Journal of Science and Technology, Multidisciplinary Journal in Science and Technology. Some of its achievements are member of President of London Journal Press, and section of under current biochemical engineering. Current biochemical engineering is indexed, and some of the grants received on the topic of the project FP3 on technical education and skill development in India, design and fabrication of solar seed sprayer, development of electric auto rickshaw for rural transport development, and also some of the textbooks and chapters in ISBN indexed books is mechanical engineering, a chapter published in ISBN index of energy from toxic organic waste. And some of his research activities are on a review of literature on renewable and sustainable energy review, and biodiesel producer gas operated compression IC engine coupled with hydrogen using response surface methodology, and utilization of hydrogen in low calorific value producer gas derived from energy, municipal solid waste, and biodiesel for diesel engine power generation, and many more are there. And now coming to publications in non-indexed journals, utilization of renewable energy fuel in single cylinder four-stroke. And coming to our international conferences, he attended international conference on advances in mechanical engineering at Fatehgarh, Punjab, Baba Manda College of Engineering, and also international conference on advances in energy research, IIT Bombay. Now coming and many more international conferences. Now coming to the student-centric activities, he has also performed effect of injection timing on performance of Seva and Ventura biodiesel powered global conference on research trends in sustainable materials in AJ Institute of Engineering and Technology, Karnataka, and many more. Now coming to the responsibilities, he had college level including all departments and library stock verification coordinator since 2014, coordinator for FTP, principal investigator for research work, sponsorship management for student projects, technoculture, cultural organization committee member and department insignia coordinator. Worked as an international conference organizer, committee member, department of PG MBA coordinator and preparation of NBA, AICTE and ISO documents, PG MBA coordinator from 2016, PG seminar coordinator, energy conversion lab in charge, mini project committee member, department of coordinator for co-curricular activities, IQAC. Thank you, sir.
This is the small introduction to our today's resource person. And thank you for and take over the session and start the session, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir, for your warm welcome. Okay, sir. Yes, now I will start.
Yes, sir. Yes. You start, sir.
Yes, today's my topic is on effect of biofuels on the combustion and emission characteristics of a diesel engine operated on dual fuel mode. This is the topic, and in this topic, I will cover that is next. This is the content. Today I am going to cover introduction, biofuels for engine applications, gasification, internal combustion engines, means a brief introduction, and gasification, this experimental setup, results and discussion. And third one is also gasification, and fifth one is also gasification. In third one, gasification means the production of gaseous fuel, that is alternative gaseous fuel, that is a producer gas. That one is discussed. In the fifth, here it is a experimental setup and results and discussion. That a different thing will be discussed in fifth, right? And next, first in this thing is that is the first we will cover, that is an introduction to this brief introduction. I will cover. Already everyone knows that here why the alternative fuels are used. Why this alternative fuels are used? Everyone knows this, right? But thing is that here the first reason is that there is a depleting nature of a fossil fuels, and the second one is increasing cost of a fossil fuels. Third one, increased pollution, stringent emission norms. These are the main reasons why you are going to the use of biofuels for engine applications. Means that this is a depleting nature of a fossil fuels, means that we must have to tell this one with some data. Understand that one in the coming slides. That one I will explain that, right? That is these are the main reasons. Means that the alternative fuels, all alternative fuels, they are renewable in nature. They are renewable in nature and are biodegradable, and they provide energy security and foreign exchange savings. Also, these alternative fuels address the environmental issues and socio-economic issues, right? And the growth of the economy is expected that India will become the world's fourth largest consumer of energy by the year 2020. Means still it is not yet achieved, right? And here next one is that is first one I told you, that is the first reason I told you, that is or fossil fuels are not a renewable. Means that all fossil fuels, they may deplete within some years. How we are going to prove this? Here there are some data. Understand? World proved reserves of a crude oil at the end of 2012. The crude oil reserve at the end of the 2012 is about 235.8 thousand million tons. World proved reserve it is, crude oil reserve 235.8 thousand million tons. And in India, it is 0.8 thousand million tons reserve. Still the reserve means it is, this data is at the end of 2012. And next one is that is 1,668.9 thousand million barrels. In terms of barrel it is, right? World proved reserve is, that is 1,668.9 thousand million barrels. That is in terms of barrels. And in India, the crude oil reserve is, that is 5.7 thousand million barrels, right? This is the proved reserves in world and in India. And world proved reserves of natural gas at the end of 2012 is, that is 187.3 thousand cubic meter. And in India, it is 1,300.76 billion cubic meter. Billion cubic meter. This is a crude, means that this is a natural gas reserve at the end of 2012. Means that from this data, we can understand that fossil fuel is depleting. Means that another one line is shown below, that is in 1998, total world reserve was estimated to be about 2.1 to 2.8 trillion barrels of a crude oil. Crude oil, they estimated in the year 1998, understand, it was around 2.1 to 2.8 trillion barrels. And again, they estimated in the year 2004, understand, in 2004, 1.80 trillion barrels. It was reduced to 1.8 trillion barrels in the year 2004. Again, they estimated in the year 2010. In 2010, it was again lowered by 1 to 1.2 trillion barrels. Means that this data means that in 1998 and in 2004 and in 2010, just you see the data, the crude oil reserve, it was decreasing in trend, decreasing. Therefore, this clearly indicates the availability of crude oil on earth for another 40 to 50 years. From the graph shown here, in the year along the x-axis 2050, understand, crude oil availability, that is a yellow color line, how it is decreasing, understand. At the end, at some point 2040, understand, the crude oil will become empty in the earth crust. From this graph, we can understand. And also one more reason why we are depending on alternative fuel, because one reason, that one what I have shown, that is a depleting in nature, that along with the data it is proved. And next, another one reason is that fossil fuel costs, they are increasing, understand, means that increasing. Just from these graphs, we can understand that how the fossil fuel costs, they are increasing. Just you see the in first figure, that is production and consumption lines. Here in the year 2008, the red color line, this is the production in India. In India, the total crude means the production of fossil fuel during the year 2008, it was around 550,000 barrels per day. Means that in one day, India is producing about 550,000 barrels. 550,000 barrels India is producing. But India is consuming here during the year 2008, India is consuming about 3,000 barrels per day. Means that 30 lakh barrels per day India is consuming. Therefore, there is a huge gap between production and consumption. Means that we are consuming more fossil fuels than the production. Therefore, in such case, the India must have to import the fuel, crude oil, from the other countries. Understand? Approximately every year, India is importing. Importing this much. The gap is how much? 3,000 minus 500 means that 2,000, approximately 2,500,000 barrels per day it is importing. Understand? It is importing. Means that there is a crude oil deficiency is there in India, right? And the crude oil price, how it is increasing. In the next graph here, we can see that is in 2005 and 2006, how the fossil fuel rate, it was increasing. We have seen during the year 2007, understand, 2007 and 2008, I think that it was around $160 per barrel. Understand? Now the cost is about $90 per barrel. Now it is decreased. But in the year 2008, the crude oil price, it was around $150–160 per barrel. Understand? Therefore, again in the coming years, the crude oil price, it will increase. Understand why? Because it is depleting in nature. Here, this figure shows that is how much import is there, and domestic for India is how much it is producing. That is a domestic production. That is a orange color during the year 2014 and 15. 2014 and 15 only, just you see these bars here, orange color line, that is a 189.7 million metric ton of oil is imported from other countries. India is imported 189.7 million barrels tons. Understand? This much oil, crude oil, India is imported during the year 2014 and 15. But India is produced, understand, indigenously about 38.8 million metric tons. India is produced only this much. Understand? And total is 228.8 million metric tons. Means that from this graph, just you observe every year the crude oil import is increased. Understand? And next here, from this next slide, in this slide, what we can understand is that is here, just you see the blue color bar. This is a blue color bar. here technical biomass potential during the year 2050. Suppose alternative fuel, that is a biomass. All alternative fuels are derived from here this biomass. Understand? Means that if you start to use alternative fuels which are derived from biomass, means that in the year that is 2050, we will get approximately about 1500 exajoules of energy we will get. But during that time, 2050, world energy demand, it may be around 2050. Understand? Just you see this figure, means that energy requirement, world energy demand during the year 2050, it is how much? It is only 1000 exajoule. 1000 exajoule. World energy demand during the year 2050 is only 1000 exajoule per year. And then, but here during 2050, total that technical biomass potential is around how much energy will get from the biomass during the year 2050, that is 1500 exajoule. Therefore, from this graph, what we can understand is that if we start to use alternative fuels which are derived from biomass, that means that you can without any this thing conveniently we can use. We can at that time fossil fuels are also not necessary, right? This is a this thing. Next, another one here, how the price, how much it is imported and how much cost it was. From this slide we can understand that here how much oil is imported and what is the cost of that. Means that here that during the year 2013 and 14, during the year 2013 and 14, the import of a crude oil was 189.3 million metric tons, and it was costed around 8,64,875 crore. Means that during the year 2013-14, total crude oil was imported around 189.3 million metric tons, and the cost of this is that is 8,64,875 crore, right? And the same in the year 2012 and 13, just you see that is how much oil was imported, 184.8 million metric tons of oil was imported in the year 2012 and 13, and the cost of this one is that is 7,84,652 crores. Means that in 1 year, how much cost it was increased? Nearly about 1,20,000 crores of rupees oil import was increased. Understand? Means that 12 and 13, next 13 and 14, 2013 and 14, how much cost is increased in 1 year? Oil import, 1,20,000 crore rupees it was increased in 1 year, right? And similarly, the LPG gas, natural gas, the imported is that is 9.534 million metric tons, valued at 28,215 crore in Indian rupees. Means that the same thing which is explained in these graphs, right? Next here, this is the third reason for using the alternative fuels. Third reason is what? Why you are going to use alternative fuels? That is the third reason, is that emissions. If you start to use the fossil fuels in an engine, they emit harmful emissions. Fossil fuels emit more emissions, right? Therefore, here from this graph, you can see that there is here global fossil fuel carbon emissions, global CO2 emissions from fossil fuel combustion reached a record high of 1.6 gigatons in 2011. And said CO2 emissions means that in 2000, how much it was around this is 2000 means to 25,000 teragrams of CO2 was emitted. Means that every year the gas, CO2 gas, it was increasing. Understand? It was increasing. Means that emissions, they are going to increase, right? Means that if you start to use alternative fuel, this emission we can reduce to some extent, right? That is the main reason, right? Next here, in the world, that is in India during 2010, CO2 emission was around 310 million tons. CO2 in India, CO2 emission in the year 2010, it is around 310 million tons, right? In percentage of world emission is 6.41%. 6.4, India is contributed 6.41%. towards this CO2 emission, right? Biomass burning, which amounts to more than 1 billion tons of CO2 emitted into the atmosphere, means that in India, just you consider India alone here, every year the CO2 was increased. Here from the graph in 2015, how much it was? 391 million tons of CO2 is emitted. And in the year 2000, it may increase. In 2035, how much CO2 India may produce? That is 1,212. That is this much million tons of CO2 India may produce in the year 2035. Means that this shows that every year the emissions, they are increasing because of using fossil fuels, right? Fossil fuels, right? This is also vehicular emission load in metropolitan cities of India. This record is taken from 2005 record it is. Just you say it is particulate, SO2, NOx, HC, CO. That is a total. And the grand total, lower line one is a grand total is given in the year 2005. In India, the vehicular emission load that is particulate about 35.31 tons per day it was emitted, and SO2 29.84 tons per day, NOx is emitted 422.88 tons per day, and HC unburnt hydrocarbon emitted during the year 2005 is that is 809.96 tons per day, and CO carbon monoxide emitted is 2299.21 tons per day. Understand? And total emission during the year 2005, total emission in India is around 3,597.2 tons per day. This much emission was produced. India is produced this much of emission, right? Next here, this is means that why we are going to use alternative fuel. These are the main reasons. First one, a depleting nature of a fossil fuels. Next one, price of a fossil fuels is increasing. Next, because of emissions. Understand? We must have to go for the biofuels or alternative fuels, right? Next, second topic is second one is that is biofuels for diesel engine applications, right? This is here green energy and renewable energy. What are these? What is the difference between these two? Is it a green energy same as a renewable energy, right? Green energy is same as renewable energy. Somewhat both they are different. Renewable is not the same as green energy. Understand? Renewable energy, understand? Renewable energy source simply does not deplete. Understand? Renewable energy means what? That may be any source which is not depleting in nature. That is called as a renewable. Example, solar, wind, hydroelectric. Understand? These are all renewable. Green energy is that which comes from natural sources such as the sun. Clean energy are those types which do not release pollutants into the air, and it does not harm ecosystem, contribute to acid rain, or worsening of a global warming. Such things will not do green energy. For example, sun energy. Sun energy, we can use it for producing the electricity. Understand? This is the green energy. Means that renewable energy, alternate fuel is there, like ethanol is there, and biodiesels. If you use it in a diesel engine, they are renewable. Ethanol is a renewable, and biodiesel is also renewable. But when you use it in an engine, understand, they produce emissions again. They produce emission. Only this is a renewable, but not comes under a green energy. Green energy means what? Green energy means it is a clean energy. Clean energy. Green energy means it is a clean energy. They do not release pollutants. Understand? Such energy is called as green energies. Means that solar energy it is a both green energy as well as renewable energy. All green energy is considered renewable, but not all renewable energy is not considered as a green energy. This is very important thing, because many people, they call it as a green energy and renewable energy. Both are same. Both are not the same. Understand? Renewable is only renewable. Understand? They can, if you use that one for energy application, they can emit emissions. But thing is that green energy, some of the fuels coming under a green energy, they will not emit any harmful emissions. right? Biofuel means what? They are renewable. Biofuels means they are renewable. Means that biofuel is a bio-originated oil. Bio-originated oil means that, for example, ethanol, biodiesels, they are all bio-originated one. Such fuels are called as biofuels. Means that here in SI engine, we can use all types of alcohols and all gaseous fuels. You know this in petrol engine nowadays, running on petrol means that you can use any type of alcohol. Any type of alcohols you can use it in a SI engine, and any type of gaseous fuels you can use. Means that the ethanol and the gaseous fuels, they are having a properties similar to that of petrol. Understand? Just you see that ethanol, methanol, butanol, like that. These are the alcohols and all gaseous fuels. They are having a properties same as a petrol. Understand? Therefore, you can conveniently use it in petrol engine, right? And another diesel engine fuels like vegetable oils and biodiesels. Understand? Biodiesels are derived from the same vegetable oil, but both vegetable oil and this biodiesels, we can use it in a diesel engines. Means that these vegetable oil and biodiesels are having a properties same as a diesel fuel. Therefore, you can conveniently use in a diesel engine, right? But the thing is that gaseous fuels also you can use it in a diesel engines. Gaseous fuels we can use in a diesel engine. Now we have seen in petrol engine, they are using LPG gas, CNG gas. Conveniently, they are using in petrol engine on 100% mode. Means that you can operate the engine on 100% mode. Means a single fuel you can use. You can run on petrol or on any gas. Understand? Conveniently, you can use on single fuel. But in diesel engine, gaseous fuels you cannot use, because all gaseous fuels are same, having a property similar to that of petrol. Therefore, you cannot use in a diesel engine. But the thing is that gaseous fuels also we can use, but on dual fuel mode. We can also use these gaseous fuels in a diesel engine, but on dual fuel mode you can run, right? This is the thing. And then here in India, in the coming years, understand, ethanol, government is already reported that government is informed to use a 5 to 10% ethanol in petrol. Understand? But still, government is not. Government is implemented, but thing is that in real practice, it is not used. It is not. Still, they are not using in real practice. Thing is that because industrial application is more, ethanol production is how much it is produced, which is not sufficient. Understand? Right? For how much is produced in India, ethanol, 100% they are using it in industry purpose. Therefore, for vehicles, we cannot use, right? In India, there are some of the industries like Bajaj, Hindustan Sugar, Renuka Sugar Limited, Triveni Engineering Industries, and Bhavna Industries. Like that, there are some of the industries are there. They are producing ethanol abundantly. They are producing ethanol. Understand, right? In future, compulsorily they'll use a 5 to 10% ethanol in petrol engines, right? And here in India has an ethanol production capacity of 684 crore liter. India has an ethanol production capacity around 684 crore liter, right? And for the targeted 20% blending of ethanol in petrol by 2030, means that at the end of 2030, India will become ready to use 20% ethanol blending, 20% ethanol blending, right? During that time, India will require about 1,000 crore liter capacity, 1,000 crore liters capacity production is required during the year 2030, right? And then here, these are all renewable fuels. Ethanol is a renewable fuel, not a green energy. And biodiesel means here it is produced domestically from vegetable oils by using a simple process that is called as a trans-esterification process. There are plenty of papers and which are available on a trans-esterification process. Means that all vegetable oils, all types of vegetable oils and biodiesels which are derived from vegetable oil, these are used in diesel engines. Understand why? Because they are having a similar properties as that of diesel. Therefore, we can use it in diesel engines, right? And biodiesels, which are produced by using a simple chemical process that is called as a transesterification process, right? This biodiesel is an alternative fuel similar to conventional or fossil diesel. Biodiesel can be produced from any type of vegetable oils, right? This process, the process used to convert these oils into biodiesel is called as transesterification process, right? Means that another thing is that is next one is that is there, right? Is there any difference? That is what I explained, renewable energy and green energy. Is all renewable energies are green energy? No. All renewable energies are not a green energies, right? Renewable energy means when they emit some at least small quantity of emissions. Understand? They are not called as a green energy. Green energy means they are not emitting any type of emissions, right? Followed. That is green energy, right? Next one is what are the main benefits of alternative fuels? That one we have seen. The alternative renewable fuels or biofuels. The main benefits of this one, they are safe, available abundantly, and clean to use when compared to fossil fuels. And use of biofuels or renewable fuels in engines, they reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And next, improved public health. And use of biofuels can increase the jobs or employability, and then other economic benefits. And stable energy prices. They are renewable, reliable, and flexible, stable, right? Biodegradable, and address energy and socio-economic issues, right? Socio-economic issues, right? And saves many. There are like that different. There are many number of benefits are there. That one will just go through that. Next one is disadvantages. Means what? Disadvantages means that here, if all the major disadvantage is that if all vehicles start to use these alternative fuels, is it possible to supply for all the vehicles? No, it is not possible, right? That is the main disadvantage of renewable fuels. Means that if all vehicles start to use, understand, they start to use the alternate fuels, then is it possible to supply from the government? It is not possible. Therefore, that is the main disadvantages, right? Right. And second one is that it is difficult to generate the quantities of electricity that are as large as those produced by traditional fossil fuel generators. And commercially, they are not viable. Next, require storage capabilities. Pollution is still generated with the renewable energy. Subsidies are not satisfactory. And next, projects require massive amount of space. Massive amount of space means land is required for growing these plants. Understand? For example, Vange, Jatropha, these are all non-edible seeds we will get from the Vange and Jatropha. If you want to start to grow such plants, large land is required. Understand? Therefore, it will reduce the food. If you start to use, then it may lower the food, means that it may increase the food scarcity, right? That is the main reason, the disadvantage. Next one is that classification. How we are going to classify the biofuels? That is the first one is classification is generation 1, generation 2, generation 3, generation 4. There are 4 generations. This is the classification. First, in the first generation, they are derived from food crops. Such comes under generation 1, like crops like wheat, sugarcane, soybean, etc. Right? And the second generation fuels are produced from non-food crops. Non-food crops means lignocellulosic biomass such as wood, agricultural residues, forestry waste, organic waste. They are generating fuels from these. such fuels comes under generation 2. Generation 3 fuels means they are derived from algae and other microbes. Such fuels comes under generation 3. And generation 4 means an extension of generation 3 biofuels. Generation 4 fuels they are just extension of generation 3 biofuels. Algae is modified via genetic engineering to alter the properties and cellular metabolism. Understand? Right? This is a generation 4. Just is the extension of generation 3. This is a just classification, right? And already I told you that is a SI engine fuels, all types of alcohols and gaseous fuels you can use. In CI engine, biodiesels of different origin and gaseous fuels on dual fuel mode also you can use, right? Means that comparing energy content, the energy content of a biodiesel is 90% that of its counterpart petroleum diesel. Means that here the fossil fuels, the main disadvantage of fossil fuels are, alternative fuels. The main disadvantage of alternative fuel is that they are having a very low energy content. Understand? Means that based on calorific value, just you check out the calorific value, and then you will come to know that here, for example, a biodiesel, vegetable oil, you can take that one, you can use it in a diesel engine. Just you take a vegetable oil, it is having about 35 to 36,000, means maximum up to 40,000 kilojoules per kg. That is a calorific value. And this diesel fuel is having 44,000 kilojoules per kg. Means that calorific value is less. Understand? Therefore, here energy content of all vegetable oils and biodiesels is lower than that of diesel fuel. Right? This is and then the energy content of a butanol. Similarly, alcohol energy content 80% less than that of gasoline. That means that here in this case, this the energy content of ethanol is 50% that of gasoline. Means that ethanol is having a 22,000 or 22,500, and methanol is having a 26,000 kilojoules per kg, like that. Whereas the petrol is having approximately 44,500 kilojoules per kg. Right? This is based on energy, comparing the energy content of the fuels. Because of this reason, all alternate fuels they are providing lower efficiency compared to fossil fuels. Understand? Because of this reason, understand, all these alternative fuels resulted in lower efficiency compared to fossil fuels. Right? Next one is, that is in the next slide. Next, these are the properties of a different alternative fuels. Means that here corn, here palmitic acid, like the different fatty acids are there in alternative fuels. Understand? In cottonseed oil, how much fatty acids are there? Here palm oil, peanut oil, rapeseed, safflower oil, soybean, like that. Different, these are the biodiesels. They are having different types of fatty acids. Understand? This one we shown. Like the next slide, these are the physical and chemical properties of different biodiesel fuels. Here, cottonseed, cetane number is 51.2, cloud point not available, pour point is -4 degrees centigrade, and flash point, and viscosity is how much, right? These are the different biodiesel physicochemical properties. Next one here, in the transesterification process, understand? Transesterification process, how it, there is a first vegetable oil, crude oil. Here pre-treatment process. Now next they will go to pre-treatment. Means that here neutralization and drying. Neutralization means here the acid value of the vegetable oil must be less than 1. Understand? It must be less than 1. Otherwise, if the acid value is more than 1, then you have to go for two-step process. Understand? Therefore, here in this pre-treatment, you must have to reduce the acid value of a vegetable oil less than 1. Right? And next here on one side, and next here alcohol and catalyst. Both they are going to mix, and after mixing vegetable oil and this mixture, and so in the reactor, they are going to heat and they are going to stirring and heating is done continuously in the reactor. Then it is transferred to separating funnel. Then you will get after purification or water processing, water washing, you will get a biodiesel, right? Means that, for example, 1 kg of any vegetable oil, take for example, any one oil, edible oil, that is a sunflower oil. If you take for 1 kg sunflower oil, means that pre-treatment means you must have to check the acid value. If there is any means that you have to filter it vegetable oil and reduce the acid value. It may be anything. There is a pre-treatment process you have to do. And then this is on one side, and on the other side, the catalyst for 1 kg, how much alcohol is required, and for 1 kg, how much catalyst is required. That one is alcohol is that is in the ratio of 3:1 proportion you have to take for 1 liter about or you can take a 20%. 20% alcohol, 20% alcohol by volume means that for 1 kg means that approximately it is a 900 grams, 900 grams or on mass on volume basis is a 1000 ml. For 1000 ml, 20% means 200 ml. 200 ml alcohol you have to take, methanol you have to take, and the catalyst by on mass basis that is a 1% catalyst, that is a NaOH or KOH you have to take. In the means that both you have to mix alcohol and catalyst, both you have to mix. After that mixing, in 1 liter vegetable oil, you must have to put both, you must have to transfer both in the reactor. In the reactor, heating and stirring is continued. Is simultaneously you have to carry out both the things, that is heating and stirring. Stirring means that approximately you have to keep some particular speed that is around 250 RPM. And heating you must have to do up to 70 degree, because if you heat more than 70 degree, that alcohol will evaporate. Understand? Alcohol will evaporate. Therefore, to prevent that one, you must have to heat up to 70 degree only, 70 degrees centigrade. Understand? After 1 hour or depending on the oil, it may be 1 hour or 2 hours, then that oil you must have to transfer to the separating funnel or some separator. There the biodiesel is separated out, and glycerin and raw material, that is a raw glycerin, that is a heavy carbon, that one is separated out. Understand? Because of higher density, the glycerin will settle down and biodiesel will start to float on the glycerin and in the separator. Understand? Therefore, the glycerin is separated out, and biodiesel it is containing some catalyst, means that the catalyst means NaOH or KOH, metallic components will be there in the biodiesel. That one you have to remove it. How we are going to remove this? By using purification method, that is a water washing you have to do. Some warm water, you must 20% warm water, 20 to 30% warm water you must have to mix with a biodiesel prepared. Understand? Means that when you mix that warm water with the biodiesel, then again you will get a 2 layer. After 10 or 20 minutes, just you observe the water will be settled down. White color water will be settled down, and pure biodiesel will start to float on the water. Means that water color will be changed to white color. Why? Because the water means that water is washed. It removes the metallic compounds. Therefore, the water will become whitish color. Right? That water is separated out, and the remaining oil, what you got, that is a pure biodiesel. That one directly you can use it in a biodiesel process, right? And next, here in this case, these are a different transesterification setup. In the first figure, the biodiesel plant, it is at a time you can produce 50 liters. At a time you can produce 50 liters of biodiesel. And second figure, that one it indicates there is a transesterification experimental setup, lab setup. This is the lab setup. Understand? Hot plate apparatus. By using hot plate apparatus, you can produce a biodiesel, right? This is the transesterification setup. And this is a biodiesel. And what means that here washing and moisture removing. For moisture removing in the biodiesel bottle, understand, some silica gels you must have to put. Silica gels. This silica gel will absorb the moisture from the biodiesel, right? This is the moisture removing process. These are the separating next last figure, that is these are separating funnel. After the process, understand, after heating and stirring, the that one after 1 hour it is transferred to separating funnel. Means that this is separating how the biodiesel is separated from the glycerin. That one it is shown in the figure, right? Next one is this is a chemical reaction taken place in the during the process. And then here effect of methanol on conversion means that if you use a ethanol more or methanol more or less, what happens? Understand? Optimum molar ratio is also called a molar ratio. Optimum molar ratio is 5:1. Understand? Molar 5:1. It is observed that percentage of conversion increased from 94%, 97% when molar ratio was increased from 3.1 to 5:1. Understand? Right? This is a if you use a more methanol or less methanol, what happens? Means that however further increase in molar ratio resulted in lower conversion. If you use a molar ratio higher, then the conversion or yield is decreased. It was observed that as the molar ratio increased, the density difference between upper and lower layer tends to decrease, right? Which makes the separation of the layers more difficult, right? This is the main reason why they are not using other proportions, right? And next, effect of temperature. Effect of temperature, the temperature, how it affects the conversion process. Means that it was observed that viscosity of oils tested decrease with the increase in temperature, right? Already you know that viscosity will decrease when the temperature is increased, right? The kinematic viscosity of Hwanghae oil was found to be 17.94 times more than that of diesel, determined at 40 degrees centigrade. After esterification, kinematic viscosity of a common biodiesel was found to be 5.5 centistokes. Means that after trans-esterification, you will get a biodiesel. That viscosity is lowered. Understand? From 17.94 times higher than diesel it was reduced to 5.5 centistokes. Means that which is 2.336 times less than pure Hwanghae oil, right? Trans-esterification process reduces the viscosity of Hwanghae oil and makes it comparable to diesel. Means that you cannot increase higher temperature or lower temperature. If you reduce the temperature, chemical reaction that the speed of the reaction will reduce if you use a lower temperature. Means that if you increase very high temperature, methanol will evaporate, right? Therefore, correct temperature you must have to use. Next, effect of that is a effect of another one, that is catalytic concentration. Means that catalyst what you are using, NaOH or KOH. If you use a higher catalyst or lower catalyst, what happens? Approximately you must have to use 1% NaOH, 1% catalyst you have to use. If you use for refined oil with a free fatty acids less than 1%, the addition of excess amount of alkaline catalyst results in the formation of emulsion. Means that if you use more than 1%, then emulsion formation may take place. And also increases viscosity, and it leads to formation of gels, right? Therefore, we cannot use more than 1%, right? Increase in catalytic concentration beyond 1% does not increase the conversion, and it adds to extra cost also. This is because it is necessary, becomes necessary to remove the catalyst from the reaction products at the end. Means that at the end, at the time of water washing and time, it will also become very difficult, right? Therefore, optimum you can use 1% catalyst, then it will produce a higher yield, 98% yield you may get. Understand? If you use an optimum catalyst. If you use more than 1%, then it will it leads to formation of emulsion and increases viscosity and leads to formation of gels, right? Next one, that is next one here, gasification. What is gasification? Gasification means that alternative LPG, liquefied petroleum gas, CNG, hydrogen, these are all there. They are directly available. But here, renewable fuel is of course, hydrogen is also renewable fuel, but gaseous fuel. But here, producer gas you can produce from the gasification process. That producer gas, you can get it from burning, partial combustion of a biomass, right? That is the gasification. And this gasification is a process that converts organic or fossil fuel based carbonaceous materials into carbon monoxide, hydrogen, and carbon dioxide. The resulting gas mixture is called as syngas or producer gas and is itself as fuel. Means that here, when you burn that biomass, any biomass, understand, in a insufficient oxygen, then after combustion, partial combustion, it will produce some type of gas. That gas, the gas produced, which is consisting of carbon monoxide, hydrogen, small percentage of methane and carbon dioxide, that gas we are going to call it as a producer gas or syngas, right? Producer gas. That process we are going to call it as gasification process. The goal in a gasification is to break down this wide variety of forms into simple fuel gas like hydrogen and CO. Means that the producer gas main content is hydrogen and CO. Hydrogen and CO, right? Gasification is thought of an incomplete combustion. It is burning solid fuels like a wood or coal without enough air to complete combustion. Understand? So the output gas still has a combustion potential. The unburned gas is then piped away to burn elsewhere as needed, right? Means that here the producer gas is produced by using a device that is a setup, we can call it as a downdraft gasifier. For engine applications, always they use a downdraft gasifier. Downdraft gasifier. In that downdraft gasifier, understand here, this is the figure is there. Understand the figure I will show you. Yes. Here, this is the downdraft gasifier. Here at the bottom, I have shown you the I have shown there is a downdraft gasifier here. Downdraft gasifier. This downdraft gasifier, there are 4 zones are there here. In this case, there is the first one is a drying zone, pyrolysis zone, combustion zone, and reduction zone. Here it consisting of 4 zones. That is the first one, drying zone, pyrolysis zone, combustion zone, and reduction zone. Drying zone. In the drying zone, understand, from the hopper, they are going to pour the wood. Understand, from the hopper, they are going to pour the different biomass or wood. They will transfer here. And here in this case, first combustion zone is there, at which some part of this wood or coal which is burning, that heat is after, means that during in the combustion process, understand, the some heat is released, that heat is transferred, it moves in the upward direction. Means that the top layer, the biomass collected in the top layer, understand, that is drying zone. Here the heat generated from the combustion zone is transferred to top layer, therefore the wood will become dry. Understand? Means at which minimum 200 degrees centigrade, the temperature it may be there. That is it's shown here. That is 100 to 150 degree. That much temperature it is there. Means that at which the wood it becomes dry. And that wood, when it comes to the next, then it comes to the pyrolysis zone. In the pyrolysis zone, minimum temperature is that is maintained. That is 200 to 500 or 600 degrees centigrade is there. At which in the pyrolysis zone, some volatile matters which are present in the biomass, understand, like a tar, char, all they are released. All they are released. Understand? All they are released, and that gas it comes to the combustion zone. That is in the combustion zone, or it's a oxidation zone. Oxidation zone. In this zone, the gas is again cracked. Understand? Cracking takes place. Understand? The heavy molecular weight hydrocarbons are cracked into simple hydrocarbons, and then that gas it comes to the next reduction zone. Again, in the reduction zone, the temperature is lower, nearly about 600 degrees centigrade in the reduction zone. Means that here in the reaction zone, some carbon adjustment takes place. Some carbon adjustment takes place. Then after carbon adjustment, the gas is taken out. The gas is taken out. That gas, which is having a very high temperature, nearly about 300 to 350 degrees centigrade. the gas, when it comes out from the gasifier, it's having a temperature around 300 to 350 degrees centigrade. Therefore, means that directly there's such a hot gas, we cannot use it in an engine. We cannot use such a hot gas directly into the engine because the air density will decrease. When air density is decreased, the suction air will be sucked very less into the engine cylinder. Thereby, volumetric efficiency of the engine will lower. Volumetric efficiency will be reduced. Means that performance of the engine will be reduced if you send a hot producer gas. Therefore, before sending that hot gas to the engine, first it must be filtered and then cooled to the atmospheric condition. Filtered means that what? The gas coming out from the gasifier, the gas coming out from the gasifier, which is having some impurities like a tar and char. Understand? If they directly goes to the engine, then it will damage the engine. Understand? It will damage the engine. Therefore, before going to the engine, you must have to filter it. That gas you must have to filter by using some suitable filters. Means after filtering, it is transferred to the some heat exchangers where the gas is cooled to atmospheric condition. Then that gas is sent to the engine, right? Then that gas is sent to the engine. Next, what are the advantages of this gasification? The advantage of biomass gasification technology is that lower emissions, and it is a small and modular type, flexible operation, economically viable, and a socio-economically beneficial one. And next, mitigate climate change. Right? These are the some benefits of gasification technology. Next, the gas quality is affected by what? Yes, from the downdraft gasifier, the producer gas is produced. This gas is affected by which factors? These are the first one, energy content of a biomass. Biomass, if it is having a high energy content, better quality gas you will get. Next, moisture content. If more moisture is there, then the gas will not get a good quality gas. Understand? That is the main problem. Next, volatile matter means that composition of the biomass is how much it is. Is it having a good volatile matters or not? Right? And next, ash content and ash chemical composition. Ash content, some of the wood, if you burn, you will get more ash. Some wood, if you burn, you will get less ash. Therefore, if the biomass contain less ash content, it is more better. Right? And next, reactivity means at some particular temperature, whether the biomass react or not, whether you will at some particular temperature, the release of volatile matters, whether the volatile matters are released or not. Understand? That is the main thing. And next, size and size distribution, bulk density of the biomass, and charring properties means char properties. They are all affect the gas quality. Right? Next, these are the proximate and ultimate analysis of a biomass feedstocks. 3 woods I have done proximate and ultimate analysis. Here, just you see Hwange wood, the moisture content is 10.3%. And next, neem wood, like the different how much volatile matter, fixed carbon, sulfur, nitrogen, gross calorific value of these woods, how much? Just you see a calorific value of the wood biomass is very less. Calorific value of biomass is very less. Therefore, when you produce the gas, automatically the calorific value of the gas will be reduced to 2 to 3 times lesser than this. Means that producer gas, understand, it may reduce to 2 to 3 times lesser than this, right? And then composition of a producer gas, in what you will get the gas, understand, from the gasification process, understand how much CO, hydrogen, methane, HC, nitrogen, water vapor, how much percentage is there in that gas. Understand? Neem wood, if you use a neem wood, the CO content in that producer gas is 27%, hydrogen is 14%, methane is 3%, and HC and N2 not available, water vapor is not available. Next, CO2 was 8 to 14%, it was there, and its calorific value is that is 4.8 megajoules per Newton meter cube, right? And its density is 345. Means that is a, I think it is a biomass density it is, right? Next here in this slide, that is about internal combustion engines. Now this is how the what we have seen, what are the different types of still now what we have seen that what is biofuel, understand why these biofuels are important, and with the facts we have discussed, and next which are the biofuels, and CI engine fuels are which are those, and SI engine fuels we have seen, and gasification, from the gasification the producer gas, how it is produced, that one we have seen in the previous slides, right? Now these fuels, now we can use it in the internal combustion engines. Now we can use these fuels in internal combustion engines. Internal combustion engine means that in which the chemical energy of the fuel is released inside the engine and used directly for the mechanical work, right? That one is a simple, it is a seen. Next, engine used for dual fuel operation. Dual fuel means you are using two fuels in a diesel engine. Mainly I will concentrate on diesel engines. Petrol engines we are not going to discuss here. Understand? Petrol engines will not discuss, because in the coming slides the fuels what we are using, diesel engine fuels, right? Diesel engine fuels only we are going to concentrate from now onwards, right? Here diesel engines, everyone will prefer the diesel engines because they are basic things are why they are going to prefer, because it is having a high thermal efficiency and are more powerful, lower fuel consumption, durable and good resale value, lower HC and CO emissions, and lower HC and CO emissions, and running cost is much lesser than SI engines. And diesel engines are more efficient because they are capable of converting approximately 45 to 50% of fuel energy to power, right? Like that. These are some advantages why the people they prefer diesel engines. And similarly, at the same time, diesel engine is having some disadvantages. There is a higher smoke and higher nitric oxide, and HCCO are less. Unburnt hydrocarbon and carbon monoxide are less in diesel engines, right? Diesel engine, why? Because in a diesel engine always they are using a extra air. Extra air means about a 60 to 70% extra air they are using in diesel engines. Understand? Therefore, there is a oxidation is a more better during combustion in diesel engine. During combustion, oxygen is more quantity of oxygen is available. Therefore, because of that reason, oxidation process taken place more better, and because of this reason, HC and CO both they are going to reduce. HCCO both they are going to reduce. Right? When HCCO are reduced, automatically nitric oxide emission will increase because of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is formed because of better combustion. Because when there is a better combustion, HCCO are reduced. But thing is that nitric oxide emission is increased because of increased better combustion, increases the temperature. The main thing is that yes, more oxygen you are using, better oxidation takes place in the diesel engine. Right? In diesel engine compared to petrol engine, in diesel engine 60% extra air they are using. Because of this extra air, combustion will take place more better. Combustion will take place more better. Because of this better combustion, what happens? HCCO are reduced. All the fuel will burn. There is a better combustion means HCCO, unburnt hydrocarbon, carbon monoxide are reduced. Because of better combustion, inside the engine cylinder, temperature will increase. Combustion temperature will increase. And already you are using more oxygen, more air, and because of high temperature, the nitrogen will be reacted with oxygen. Therefore, nitric oxide is formed. More quantity of nitric oxide is formed, and more smoke you will get. And due to larger, second one, due to larger compression ratio, forces acting on various parts of the engine are greater, hence heavier structure is required. And next, diesel and lean mixture, incomplete combustion due to heterogeneous mixture. Sometimes what happens here in the diesel engine, incomplete combustion may take place. It may be because of using of too lean mixture or heterogeneous mixture, right? And diesel engines are more expensive and higher cost to fix and high maintenance and more noise and vibration. These are some general this thing and the future of CI engine. Future of CI engine. Future of CI engine means what? Means that higher thermal efficiency with a high compression ratio. Higher thermal efficiency means all diesel engines will give higher thermal efficiency compared to petrol engine. Why? Because here high thermal efficiency means that that formula what we have seen, brake thermal efficiency equal to BP divided by MF into CV, means that high thermal efficiency, brake thermal efficiency will increase and mass of you are using more than 60% extra air. Here the fuel consumption is very less. In diesel engine, the fuel consumption is very less. Understand? Air fuel ratio. Just you see the air fuel ratio. Understand? Compared to that petrol engine, air fuel ratio is very high in a diesel engine. Because of this reason, the fuel consumption is reduced. Understand? In the formula, MF is reduced. Because of when MF is reduced, automatically brake thermal efficiency of the engine will increase. And even though high compression ratio is there, the compression ratio means that temperature will increase. Because of high temperature, the combustion will become more better, right? This is the main feature of the CI engine. And next, combustion with a lean mixture means that already I told you that here in diesel engine always they are using a extra air, 60% extra air, approximately 60% extra air they are using. Therefore, the mixture will become lean. Mixture will become lean mixture. Means that when lean mixture is there, combustion will take place more better. Along with that, some fuel saving. Understand? Fuel saving is also better compared to petrol engine, right? And here diesel is a less expensive fuel. The cost of the fuel is very less. Next, diesel engine always emits the higher smoke and NOx emission. That one I told you, because in diesel engine your NOx mainly depends on what? NOx mainly depends on how much oxygen you are using and then the combustion temperature. NOx emission mainly depends on temperature and oxygen availability. In diesel engine, combustion temperature is also higher and also you are using more oxygen. Therefore, automatically NOx will be emitted very high compared to petrol engine. Next, high CR increases weight because to withstand load, noise, vibration. Because of high compression, the forces during working, the forces coming out, they are very high. Therefore, to withstand such load, you must have to build the engine with a heavier structure. Understand? Heavier structure, right? And next, in diesel engine, always there is a heterogeneous mixture. In petrol engine, you know this, always there is a homogeneous mixture. Homogeneous mixture is there in the petrol engine. But in diesel engine, it is very difficult to get the homogeneous mixture because the diesel is mixed in a diesel engine, means that inside mixing, inside the engine cylinder, mixing takes place. Air and diesel will be mixed inside the engine cylinder. In petrol engine, it is mixed outside the engine cylinder. But in diesel engine, understand, the air and diesel, both they will be mixed inside the engine cylinder. Therefore, the time available for mixing is very, very less in diesel engine. Because of this reason, the mixture formed is heterogeneous, right? And air fuel ratio in diesel engine is approximately 20 to 80 is to 1. 20 to 80 is to 1. You have seen that is in a petrol engine. The air fuel, stoichiometric air fuel ratio is a 14.5 is to 1. 14.5 is to 1 in a petrol engine. That is a stoichiometric. Lean mixture means how much? 18 or 20 is to 1 in petrol engine. Rich mixture means 12 is to 1. Means that it varies from 12 is to 1 to 20 is to 1 in petrol engine. Whereas just you see the diesel engine, it varies from 20 is to 1 to 80 is to 1. Means that more air you are using in diesel engine. Therefore, air fuel ratio in diesel engine is very high. And during induction, as you know, that is the air alone is inducted and fuel will be injected at the end of the compression stroke. Both will be mixed inside the engine cylinder, right? And diesel engine is, they are using quantity governing method. Quantity governing method they are using. And here fuel absorbs latent heat of air during means that fuel absorb, means that when the air is inducted into the engine cylinder, and after compression, the pressure and temperature of the air will be increased. Pressure and temperature of the air will be increased. And when the diesel is injected at the end of the compression stroke, the fuel droplets, they start to absorb the latent heat of the air, because after compression, the air temperature and pressure are very high. Therefore, when the diesel is injected, it absorbs the latent heat of the air, right? And then when the self-ignition temperature is crossed after mixing and after the some chemical reactions in between the fuel and air, understand, when the self-ignition temperature is crossed, automatically the combustion takes place, fuel combustion takes place, right? And then flame is formed where air fuel ratio is stoichiometric and many flame fronts are formed. In the petrol engine, understand, the spark plug is there. In petrol engine, there is a spark plug. Means that at the end of the compression stroke, and air and petrol mixture is in petrol engine, air and petrol, both mixture is inducted. Means that when air and petrol mixture is compressed at the end of the compression stroke, understand, when the spark is produced, the spark will burn the air fuel mixture. Means that only one flame front will be formed. Only one flame front is formed. That flame front only will propagate throughout the engine cylinder. Like that, the combustion takes place in petrol engine. Whereas in diesel engine, it is totally different. In diesel engine, the combustion is totally different. Means that how it is, because you have seen during induction only air is inducted, and at the end of the compression stroke, diesel is injected. First diesel, after injection, what happens here? The diesel droplets, they will mix up with the air. And they absorb the latent heat of air, and then chemical reactions takes place. And the mixture is not a homogeneous. That one you remember, in diesel engine, mixture is not homogeneous, heterogeneous. Means that in engine, mixture formed is heterogeneous, and at some locations inside the engine cylinder, at some locations there is a homogeneous mixture. Means not completely not filled with a homogeneous mixture. Engine cylinder not filled with completely with a homogeneous mixture, but at some locations there are some regions or locations inside the engine cylinder, they are with stoichiometric. Understand, homogeneous mixture is there. Means that after chemical mixing and chemical reaction, at some locations where the mixture is homogeneous, at that location, when the self-ignition temperature is crossed, automatically flames are formed. Not only one flame, many number of flames are formed where the mixture is homogeneous. And when the self-ignition temperature is crossed, many number of flames are formed. Then once the many number of flames are formed, those all flames will burn the surrounding air fuel mixture, and the flames start to propagate throughout the entire cylinder. Like that, the combustion takes place in a diesel engine. Next delay period involves physical and delay period. Means that when the next one is, that is in a delay period in diesel engine, the delay period is there. When the fuel injection starts, understand, diesel will be mixed with the air. Means that complete hello, here the delay period means that mixing of a fuels, air and diesel will be mixed. Understand, that mixing, it must require some time, that is a physical delay. And for chemical reaction, there is some time is there, that is a chemical delay. Means when chemical delay is over, next fuel will become ready for the combustion, then combustion takes place. Means that fuel, the diesel is having a very low self-ignition temperature and higher Sitton number. Understand, diesel is always self-ignition temperature. Diesel is having very low self-ignition temperature and having a higher Sitton number. And next, this is some features of this one, right? Next one, and in the next slide, there is a compression ignition engines. Here we know that there are DI and IDI engines, direct injection and indirect engines. Direct injection means what? Here direct engine having a single open combustion chamber into which fuel is injected. Means that inside the engine cylinder directly you are injecting the fuel in the combustion chamber. Only one combustion chamber is there in which the fuel is injected. There only the combustion takes place. The such engines are called direct injection engines. And indirect engines means that here combustion chamber is divided into two regions. Combustion chamber is divided into two regions and the fuel is injected into the pre-chamber in one chamber and which is connected to the main chamber via nozzle or one or more orifices. Means that fuel is injected somewhere and partial combustion, it will come to the main combustion chamber, right? Means that this is a indirect injection engine, right? Next, here this one is how the combustion takes place in diesel engine. How the combustion is taking place in the diesel engine. This is the P theta diagram, pressure versus crank angle diagram. From this here, this is a 0.001 second. From the graph, you can see that is 0.001 from this to 1 to 1. Here process 1, it is shown here. 1 means that here it is there 1. This is called as delay period. Delay period means what? Here at this point, start of injection, where it takes place, TDC is there, no? Left side is a before reaching top dead center, and right side direction after TDC, right side it is a after reaching top dead center. Means that first suction takes place and next compression. At the end of the compression stroke, piston where it is at the top dead center, that one is assumed as a 0. Assumed as a 0. After compression means that when it reaches top dead center, it is assumed as a 0. Means that on the left side of the TDC is a before reaching top dead center, piston is still moving towards means during compression stroke, still it is reaching towards the top dead center. Means that 20 means here 20 degree before reaching the top dead center. 40 means 40 degree before reaching the top dead center. And on the right side again 20, 40, 60 are mentioned. They are after reaching the top dead center. Means that once it at the end of the compression stroke and when it reaches the top dead center, then again it starts to come down. Is it not? Therefore, that is after reaching the top dead center. Understand? There is a 20 degree after reaching the top dead center. That is on the right side. Here there are a process. First process is the delay period. In the delay period means what? Delay period means here when the fuel is injected. This is the start of injection is shown here at this point 20 degree before top dead center. The fuel is starts to inject. When the fuel is injected, first mixing takes place and then chemical reactions will take place. Means that after this mixing and this chemical reactions combined together, it is called as a delay period. Means that once the delay period is completed, the fuel will become ready for the combustion. The fuel will become ready for the combustion. That is the start of combustion is shown. Start of combustion is shown. Here from this onwards, the combustion starts to take place. From this onwards, combustion starts to take place. That is a process 2. Process 2, which is written there, process 2. And then here at the end, here this is called as uncontrolled combustion. Process 2 is called as, this is the uncontrolled combustion or rapid combustion. Means that combustion is not at all controlled here, because once the combustion starts, fuel is still, it is there in the fuel is still, it is coming inside the engine cylinder. Understand? Therefore, the fuel is, the combustion is not controlled. Therefore, it is called as, means that still it is, piston is moving towards compress, towards TDC. Compress, still it is the compression is there. Therefore, the combustion is not controlled. It is called as uncontrolled combustion. When it reaches the complete combustion, then the piston starts to come down. Piston starts to come down. That is the point, process 3. 3 means here, combustion is called as a controlled combustion. Controlled combustion. Controlled combustion means what? Anyway, piston start, it is coming downward. Means that when it starts coming downward, means that here pressure is decreasing inside the engine cylinder. When piston starts to come down, here the piston, it is coming downward, means the pressure, it is decreasing. Means that when pressure starts to decrease, automatically the combustion is controlled. Automatically the combustion is controlled. Means that is a process 3 is called as that is a controlled combustion. Next one is that is fourth one is that is after burning process. After burning process means here anyway if the some part of the fuel left, if it is not burnt, understand that one will burn during expansion stroke. It is called as after burning process. Here this is called as a P theta diagram, pressure versus crank angle diagram. The same pressure crank angle diagram which it can be shown in the heat release rate diagram. In the heat release rate diagram, same ignition delay and premixed combustion, and the same thing we can plot it on the heat release rate. Means that based on these two figures, we can explain the combustion, total combustion of the combustion taking place in the engine, right? And next here, the same thing, ignition delay, which are what I explained there. These are the fuel property factors affecting the engine, factors affecting the delay period, fuel properties, injection pressure, injection timing, compression ratio, cooling water temperature, supercharging, engine speed, load and air fuel ratio, they affect. Next, diesel knock. Diesel knock means here the diesel higher or advanced injection timing leads to knocking. Means that I shown here in this case, that is, this is a delay period. Process 1 is a delay period. This delay period is very important. Why? Because just you see here, injection start, when start of injection takes place, where it ends, here long gap which is shown here. This is a delay period, it means that injection period. If you enlarge, if the delay period, if it becomes longer, then in this in the inside the engine cylinder, more fuel will be collected. During the delay period, more fuel will be collected. When more fuel becomes ready for the combustion, there is a rapid combustion takes place. Therefore, pressure and temperature will increase. Therefore, it leads to knocking. Understand? Means that the delay period will be increased when you do the injection timing advancing. When you do the advancing, understand, delay period is increased. Understand? Therefore, that advancing, when you do the injection timing advancing, then delay period will be increased. Then more fuel will be collected in the inside cylinder. And when more fuel burns suddenly, then it leads to knocking. High pressure rise takes place, that it leads to knocking. And next, we have seen that is a good SI engine fuel is always bad CI engine fuel, and a good CI engine fuel is always bad SI engine fuel, because it all depends on fuel properties. It all depends on fuel properties, right? And next, knock can be lowered by using these points, right? And next, this is a experimental setup what we have used. Understand? In our experiment, we have used this experimental setup we have used. And next, this is the experimental setup, the same experimental setup. And this one here, experimental setup here, CI with the CRDI setup it is, and then same thing. And this is some photographs we have taken here. In the first figure, carburetor fitted producer gas induction system, means air and producer gas. Air and producer gas both will be mixed. For this carburetor is used here. And then during suction stroke only, the air and producer gas mixture which is sent to the engine during suction stroke. There is a figure 1. And in figure 2 means that producer gas, is it a flammable or not? Understand? That one we have to check. Therefore, before sending that producer gas into the engine, first you must have to check the producer gas quality. For that, you must have to do the flaring. Means that flaring is done just for checking the quality of producer gas. Next one is here to measure the pressure readings. To measure the pressure readings here, some pressure sensors are in mounted on the engine. This one will measure the pressure at every crank angle. This one will measure the pressure. Understand? Yeah, for every crank angle, it will measure the pressure. Next one, this is the carburetor what I used here. In the first figure, carburetor is used here. The same carburetor which is shown separately, right? Next, this is a smoke meter, and this is a type of carburetor, and this is different types of carburetors we have used. Y-shaped carburetor, 60-degree gas entry carburetor, and 90-degree gas entry carburetor, parallel flow gas entry carburetor, right? And this is a smoke meter, artery smoke meter, and then this is exhaust gas analyzer. This exhaust gas analyzer will measure the gas for exhaust gas composition, means like unburnt hydrocarbon, CO, NOx, carbon dioxide, and unused oxygen. That one it will measure, right? This is this thing, and these are the different nozzles we have used: 3-hole, 4-hole, and 5-hole injectors we have used. Yes, this is the thing. And next, results and discussions. Results and discussion means here, first what we will see is that is in results and discussion, optimization of injector opening pressure. Here, what we have discussed till now, this is all about a basics. Understand? Next, here this is the engine experimental setup I have shown here. In this engine here, this is a dual fuel engine. This is the dual fuel engine here. This is the downdraft gasifier. From the air, this the air is filtered, and from the air filtered and cooling. After cooling, the gas is sent to the engine, and where the air is mixed. Understand? After mixing air and producer gas, they will send it to the engine cylinder during suction stroke. Understand? Means that in our work we have used different types of nozzles. Understand? 3-hole, 4-hole, 5-hole nozzles we have used, and each hole size is how much. Suppose if you have used a 3-hole injector is there. In 3-hole, the hole size is how much? 0.25 mm or 0.3 mm or 0.5 mm. How much the hole size is? In 3-hole injector only different sizes, hole sizes we have used. Suppose if you take a 4-hole nozzle, each hole size is how much? Again, different sizes we have taken. Like that, we have seen different types. Here, the first one is that we have used, first we have optimized injection pressure. First, we have used injection pressure. At what injection pressure, the efficiency is higher. Here, x-axis is shown, that is x-axis is shown injection pressure, y-axis is the thermal efficiency, brake thermal efficiency. From this here, red color is a biodiesel and producer gas. Biodiesel and producer gas. Black color line is a diesel producer gas. Right? Here, for the diesel, the highest efficiency will get at 205, and for the biodiesel, highest efficiency brake thermal will get at 230 bar. At 230 bar for biodiesel producer gas operation, for biodiesel and producer gas combination, we will get at 230 bar highest brake thermal efficiency, and for diesel producer gas it is at 205. Then here you must have to reason, you must have to tell it why this for suppose if you use a diesel producer gas for diesel operation, when you increase the pressure, understand, brake thermal efficiency goes on decreasing, but reverse biodiesel and the producer gas combination, when you increase the injection pressure, it is the brake thermal efficiency is increasing up to some pressure, that is up to 230 bar. After that it is decreasing, right? Means that here what happens here, when you for the biodiesel producer gas operation, when the pressure is increased because of higher viscosity of the biodiesel, when you increase the pressure, the droplets will become smaller and smaller. When you inject the fuel with a high injection pressure, the droplets of a biodiesel will become smaller and smaller. When they become a very smaller and smaller diameter size, they can mix up with the air very quickly. Understand? They can mix up with the air quickly, and the mixture becomes homogeneous. Therefore, burning becomes very easy. Because of that reason, the efficiency will increase when you increase the injection pressure. Right? Means that after when 230 bar is crossed, when 240 bar, again it is decreased, because hydrodynamic force will be decreased when you increase the injection pressure. Means that the fuel will become at a high injection pressure, the fuel droplets will become too smaller and too smaller size. Because of that very high injection pressure, the fuel penetration will decrease, and the fuel will start to float only on the compressed air. Fuel droplets will start to float only on the compressed air. because it loses its density when you use a high injection pressure. Because of that reason, mixture will become not homogeneous and it is not mixed uniformly, and penetration will be decreased. Because of that reason, biodiesel PG operation will result very low break thermal efficiency when it crosses 230 bar. Understand, right? That is the main reason. For similarly, for diesel producer gas operation, at 205 you will get a higher break thermal efficiency, and after that it goes on decreasing. Why? Because when you increase injection pressure, the fuel droplet will become smaller and smaller. Same reason, the diesel droplet size will become too smaller. It loses its density. Understand? Therefore, penetration will be affected. And the fuel will start to float only on the air. Therefore, mixing will become incomplete. Because of that reason, because of this reason, the break thermal efficiency is reduced. And the same reason can be applied to exhaust gas temperature, right? And smoke opacity, because diesel, just you see at 230 bar, the smoke is very less. For red color, home biodiesel and PG operate at 230 bar, the smoke is less, because optimized droplet size production and mixing is also good, right? Similarly, hydrocarbon, it is lower at 230 bar, and then carbon monoxide at 230 bar it is less, and nitric oxide also somewhat it is higher at 230 bar, because when HC and CO are reduced, it indicates what? When HC, CO, smoke are reduced, it indicates better combustion. When there is a better combustion, the combustion temperature will be increased. When temperature increases, automatically NOx emission will be increased. At 230 bar, NOx emission will be increased, right? This is the reason. And next, optimization of number of holes, means the 3 hole, 4 hole, or 5 holes. Means that break thermal efficiency for biodiesel will get for 4 hole, we got better performance, and then compared to 3 hole and 5 hole. And for diesel PG operation, we'll get 3 hole, will get a maximum efficiency. Means that for biodiesel PG operation, 4 hole injector resulted in higher break thermal efficiency. This is the why at 4 hole only it will resulted in a higher break thermal efficiency, because the more, if the 4 hole is there, more fuel will be admitted into the engine cylinder. Therefore, combustion will become with a more, anyway calorific value is less, means that to get a more power, understand, more fuel will be burnt. Understand? That is the main reason. For this reason, at 4 hole it is resulted higher break thermal efficiency, and exhaust gas temperature at the same is lower, right? And smoke opacity at a 4 hole it is less. Red color, just you see the biodiesel PG, red color, it is less at 4 hole, and here also at 4 hole hydrocarbon is less and carbon monoxide is less at 4 hole only, right? And then nitric oxide is higher. Automatically, when they are less nitric oxide, automatically it will become high. This is a optimization of nozzle hole size, nozzle holes, number of nozzle holes. Next one is optimization of nozzle hole size. Nozzle, which hole size is optimum? Whether in the last case, what 4 hole is optimum? 4 hole is optimum. Here you can keep some constant. That is a 4 hole is a, we select a 4 hole nozzle only, and injection pressure, how much it is optimized? 230 bar. For a biodiesel PG operation, 230 bar is the highest injection pressure. Last one is, that is 4 hole is a resulted in highest break thermal efficiency. Therefore, these two we keep a constant. We keep constant, and now we start to vary the nozzle hole size. Nozzle hole size means that at 0.25 mm nozzle hole size resulted in higher break thermal efficiency, at which all smoke and HCCO and are less. And then, but thing is that nitric oxide is higher. Nitric oxide is higher. Next, optimization of a combustion chamber. Combustion chamber means we have used we have used two types of combustion chambers. One is hemispherical combustion chamber, and next re-entrant type combustion chamber. Re-entrant type combustion chamber, and two fuels. All the fuels we have engine is operated using all the fuel, that is diesel PG HCC, biodiesel PG HCC, and then home PG RCC, and diesel PG RCC. Means that out of these combustion chamber, for both diesel PG and home biodiesel PG, RCC re-entrant combustion chamber resulted in higher brake thermal efficiency, and at which one at RCC re-entrant combustion chamber only, the smoke emission, nitric oxide emission, smoke HC CO are very less, and nitric oxide is higher at the operation with RCC, right? Why the RCC, when you use a re-entrant combustion chamber, why this brake thermal efficiency is higher and why the emissions are lower? The main thing is that when you use re-entrant combustion chamber, the swirl is improved. The swirl, because combustion chamber is somewhat, it is changed. Because of that reason, the inside there is swirl, what it is produced, the swirl and squish, understand, they are changed, they are improved. Therefore, when the swirl and swirl is changed, automatically mixing will be improved. Mixture becomes more homogeneous, and squish means that all the fuel, it comes under the fuel injection. Understand? Means that when the fuel, all the air, it comes under exactly at the center, and when the fuel is injected, complete all the fuel will be injected into the air. Therefore, mixture becomes homogeneous and better. Therefore, better combustion takes place with the RCC. Understand? When a homogeneous mixture is formed, automatically the efficiency will be increased when RCC is used, re-entrant combustion chamber, at which all emissions, smoke emission, HC, CO are less, and nitric oxide is increased, and brake thermal, this cylinder pressure, understand, with the RCC is increased. Cylinder pressure, you will get a very high with the RCC, and heat release rate also will get a very high. And a similar results, similar experiment, one more experiment we have conducted, that is effect of hydrogen on the combustion characteristics of PG fueled diesel engine. Here also we have varied the hydrogen 4 LPM, 8 LPM, and 12 LPM, and at different brake power, which one is having. When you mix a hydrogen, understand, hydrogen with the hydrogen in the producer gas, automatically the efficiency is increased. Just you see the red color line here, only it is a biodiesel producer gas combination. For this, when you mix hydrogen with a PG, understand, then it brake thermal efficiency is increased. At 8 LPM, when you use 8 LPM hydrogen, the efficiency is higher. There's a blue color, right? Means that, and also the engine was operated more than 80% because derating, understand, power derating is reduced when you use a hydrogen. That one, brake thermal efficiency is increased when when optimum quantity of hydrogen is used, because hydrogen is having a higher flame velocity, and also if you use a hydrogen, the oxygen reaching ability will be increased. Means the oxygen reaching will be increased because hydrogen is having a higher coefficient of diffusion. Higher coefficient of diffusion means it increases the oxygen availability. Understand, right? Therefore, mixture will get proper, means that mixture will be formed correctly. Thereby, combustion will be improved. Because of this reason, emissions at 8 LPM, all emissions are decreased, and pressure is increased, and peak pressure, that is at which 8 LPM you will get a highest peak pressure, and at 8 LPM only you will get highest heat release rate, right? And heat release rate will be calculated by using this one, right? This equation which is shown here, and then this how specific heat, understand, are calculated, and then here heat transfer was calculated based on Feinsberg equation given below here, right? And then this is the thank you. And conclusion, before this one, we must have to conclude that here the use of alternative fuels always lowers the efficiency of the engine. lowers the efficiency of the engine, and therefore some optimization you must have to do by optimization of some parameters like injectors. We have seen injector optimization, hydrogen addition, or some other advancements you must have. You can use a CRDI engines. Like by using such things, we can improve the efficiency of the diesel engine, and also we can reduce the emissions. Right. This is the main conclusion of this this thing. And next is it over, and then thank you very much. Hello sir. Hello sir. Hello sir.
Ask the question, participant. Any doubt you have to ask?
Yes, anybody? Any
Ask
questions?
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, tell me.
Sir, how can you control the flow of the producer gas, sir? Which equipment you have used?
The thing is that a producer gas actually will not control the flow rate of a producer gas. Understand? Means that our aim is to allow more quantity of producer gas. Understand? That is the main. It is considered as a primary fuel in a dual fuel engine. Right? Therefore, it is not necessary to control the producer gas. Right? Then yes.
Sir, I have sir, this is Srinivas. Hello.
Tell me, sir.
Hello.
Tell me, sir.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Tell me.
Sir, if I cool that gasification gas, is it becomes pyrolysis oil?
Not audible. Clearly tell me.
Sir, if the gas is coming out from the chamber, na, sir.
Gasifier.
Gasifier. If I cool that gas, is it becomes the liquid? Can I call it as a pyrolysis oil?
Yes, sir. Pyrolysis also oil they are producing by using some pyrolysis process. But here what we are using gaseous fuel. Understand? Liquid
Yes,
also.
sir, two phases will come out, na, sir, from the
Yes,
chamber.
can
One
produce
is oil and another one.
Yes, yes. It is possible.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Then
Participant ask any queries. Unmute the radio. Ask the question. Any?
Can we use the CNG gas in place of producer gas?
yes, in diesel engine, any type of gaseous fuels you can use. Understand? But you must have to conduct means on dual fuel mode only. You must have to operate the engine. Any gas you can use.
How much proportion we can take, sir? Oxygen and CNG gas, or oxygen and producer gas? What is the proportions?
Means that here in one experiment I have shown, I have used hydrogen. Right? Hydrogen I have used 4 LPM, 8 LPM, and 12 LPM. We have conducted experiment and we got maximum efficiency at 8 LPM. Understand? Means that on energy balance, if you do the energy balance, how much share hydrogen and how much share producer gas, how much share the fuel. Understand? That one you can find out, and then you will come to know that. Energy share you must have to do it. Right? And many papers are there on the energy share. Followed. Yes, then.
Any question, participants? Just ask. Thank you, sir. Wonderful session.
Yes, sir. But thing at times it becomes very less. Therefore, I have gone very fast.
Okay, sir. It is already you are given it 2 hours nearly. That is very good on topic and explaining neatly. That will be informative to those who are going to the research and those are teaching days. To get the helpful for the future also. Thank you once again, sir. The wonderful topic given to the lecture here. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Participants, now to conclude the second session, that is sixth session of the second day, and 2:30 it sharply start with the third session. All of you have to join. Thank you.